Look, whatever Tremaine wants, we can find a way to stop her.
She wants Henry.
The heart of the truest believer.
We finally learn why Lady Tremaine hates Cinderella so much, and Jacinda tries to save the community garden on this week's episode of Once Upon a Time. Let's break it down. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another Once Upon a Time recap. So in both the realm and the real world, battles are being fought. Tiana leads the resistance to overthrow Lady Tremaine, while Jacinda is trying to save the community gardens from turning into condos at the hands of her stepmother Victoria. We also learn why Drizella is the only stepsister we've seen so far this season, and something big happens regarding Henry's family, so let's get started. In the realm, we get to see what happened before Henry found Cinderella's glass slipper. Turns out she did ride his motorcycle back to the spot where they met, but was attacked by some guards waiting for her. Princess Tiana ended up saving her and reveals to Cinderella she was at the ball to not win the hand of the prince, but to keep an eye on him, and we learn he is the one who killed Cinderella's father, obviously with the help of Lady Tremaine. Tiana wants Cinderella to join the resistance that she's the leader of, and it seems like Lady Tremaine is trying to take everyone's homes in both realms. Cinderella agrees, and Tiana hops on the back of a trusty motorcycle, and Cinderella leaves her slipper behind for Henry.
Come on. What is that? It's faster than any horse. That's all you need to know.
At the camp, Tiana reveals to Cinderella that Lady Tremaine has been transferring magic from the king's vault to her manor, and they don't know why, but they think she's preparing for war. The night before, a box they didn't recognize was brought to her, and while Cinderella lies, saying that she has no idea what it is, she clearly does. Then Henry, Regina, and Wish Realm Hook, who I'm just gonna start calling Hook because it's just way too long to say all that, show up, and Tiana's very happy to have someone who knows magic around. I also feel like she gave Hook some kind of look during this scene, and I'm curious if these two have crossed paths before, or maybe if there's something more between them. Cinderella ends up sneaking back to Lady Tremaine's in the middle of the night to see the mysterious box, and Lady Tremaine is right there waiting because she knew that thing would lure Cinderella out. But what is in the box? Well, it's actually a coffin of sorts, and inside is Anastasia. Yep, Drizella wasn't the only stepsister. We end up learning, of course, that Lady Tremaine helped plan Cinderella's father getting killed, which was to punish Cinderella, because it seems like Cinderella had something to do with Anastasia's death, and well, she's not actually dead. Lady Tremaine has had some magical help to preserve the one last breath inside of Anastasia, and now she's determined to bring her back to life, and there's really only one way. She wants Cinderella to get her Henry's heart because she did some research and knows who he is, and the heart of the truest believer or the innocent can help bring back Anastasia, who is also an innocent. Lady Tremaine puts a spell on Cinderella's hand and tells her to get the heart or every person in the resistance will pay the price. Cinderella returns to the camp but can't bring herself to take Henry's heart, so when she attempts to take the heart of another guy named Jeremiah, Regina manages to stop her and takes the spell off her hand.
You know, it took me a long time to learn. But no, that kind of sacrifice is never okay.
The next day when Cinderella is trying to sneak off again, Regina stops her. Cinderella ends up telling Regina that Anastasia died when she was 14 and it was her fault, but we don't exactly know just what happened to Anastasia in this episode. How did she die? How did Cinderella cause her death? Regina gives Cinderella some more good advice, and I just have to say I love Regina. Like, she has had such a great arc on this show, and I just love her.
Take my advice. If you want to take this woman down, the first thing you gotta do is forgive yourself.
Regina tries to convince Cinderella to come back to the camp, but Regina ends up returning alone, only to find that Cinderella does join them eventually. And Cinderella, who now wants to be called Ella, tells Tiana that storming the castle would be a trap. When Tiana asks how she knows, Regina has Ella's back, saying, "Oh, I used my magic mirror for this," not writing out that Ella went back to the castle in the middle of the night. Ella then tells Henry she wants to talk, so what is she going to reveal to him? Now let's hop over to Hyperion Heights. Jacinda is still bummed that Lucy is not living with her, but the two have been leaving each other letters in the wishing well at the community garden. Well, evil Victoria has found out about it and decided to move up her construction of the condos on the garden so they can destroy it. Meanwhile, Henry, Ronnie, and Rogers meet up where Ronnie shares that the building commissioner was in the night before and got so drunk he ended up bragging about making money from Victoria, and they're planning to meet the next day. Rogers tells Henry to go be the research guy while he goes on a stakeout. When Rogers goes to spy on the building commissioner, he sees Victoria hand him an envelope of money. But the commissioner isn't the only one being watched. Weaver is actually spying on Rogers because he knows he lied to him earlier in the day about what he was doing. Rogers eventually arrests the building commissioner, but later when he goes back to the station, he sees that Weaver is talking to the building commissioner and lets him go. Weaver demands to know what Rogers was up to, but Rogers doesn't want to tell him. He's just like, oh, I'm working on a case.
We're just supposed to let some lowlife walk the streets. Sometimes, yes, because now, when she makes a call to that lowlife, he makes one to me.
Ronnie, being just as wise as Regina in the realm, gives Jacinda some good advice, and Jacinda sets out to get signatures for a petition to save the community garden. Lucy finds Henry at Ronnie's and once again dives into her big believing speech and how Henry must be coming around since he's helping Jacinda, and how Jacinda is coming around because she's now fighting. Lucy says that she thinks Victoria wants to destroy the gardens because something magical has to be buried under there she doesn't want them to find. The two head to the garden, and of course as they get there, the workers have to stop because it seems like they've hit something underground. Lucy jumps down into the tunnels and Henry reluctantly follows her. Lucy ends up finding a piece of glass which she believes is part of Cinderella's glass slipper that came through during the curse. She then tells Henry if he won't believe, maybe Jacinda will if she shows her the slipper. Well, before Lucy can show her the slipper, she overhears Victoria offering Jacinda one of the new condos being built on top of the gardens if she burns the petition. Victoria said that Jacinda and Lucy can live together and everything can be happy. It's her peace offering, and Jacinda just wants her daughter back so badly she does burn the petition. But now Lucy is so upset with her mother that she says she isn't gonna live with her, so Victoria still wins. Lucy goes off to mope and runs into Henry while Jacinda goes to Ronnie's for a few shots, where just like in the other realm, Ronnie gives her another good pep talk.
You honestly willing to give up? Because the Victoria Belfries of the world, they will take everything you have if you let them.
When Henry and Lucy go by the garden, they see that Jacinda is there with Ronnie and a bunch of the people from the town, and she's asking them all to sign the petition again and start planting in the garden.
We're gonna show Victoria Belfry that when you truly believe in something, you can change things.
Afterwards, Lucy gives Henry the piece of the glass slipper because Jacinda is already becoming a hero in her eyes, and in the story, the prince always ends up keeping the slipper, and she really needs Henry to believe again, so maybe the slipper will help. Now Lucy thinks Henry is finally starting to come around, especially since she knows he didn't find the cemetery where he thought his family was buried. Well, sorry Lucy, because as Henry is heading home, he somehow stumbles across the Hyperion Heights cemetery where he sees the graves of Lauren and Abigail Mills. Seriously though, Hyperion Heights does not seem that big, and if he couldn't find the cemetery before, why is he finding it just now? Seems kind of weird, right? Unless magic is, of course, involved. Meanwhile, in the dark of the night, Victoria has a box delivered to one of her buildings, and she goes up to the top of the tower with it, and surprise, it's the same box that Anastasia has been stored in the realm. Seems like that's what she must have been digging up under the garden. Now she has a witch or some mysterious woman locked at the top of that tower who she says can bring her daughter back. Now this mystery woman asks Victoria if she's ready for what that means, and when Victoria says nothing frightens her, the woman says it should frighten you. So what will be the consequences for bringing someone back to life here? Doesn't bringing someone back to life in any show always end up having some kind of consequences when it's like supernatural? Well, since Henry doesn't believe yet, Victoria is going to have to use Lucy to bring back Anastasia, but since Lucy's heart is protected, she says Lucy has to surrender her belief willingly. So that's why Victoria is really set out to destroy everything Lucy cares about. Now the mystery woman ends up telling Victoria that if she gets her daughter back, she'll still have to deal with her. Okay, so who on earth is this mystery woman? Well, she's locked in the Tower of Sorts and has long hair, so at first glance, or first thought, it seems like, oh, is this the new Rapunzel? If you look at the actress who plays her, Megan Warner, it kind of looks like her, but it's hard to tell with all that hair and the makeup and the lighting. But in fact, this is not Rapunzel. In the guest starring at the beginning of the episode, it said Emma Booth, and if you look it up, Emma Booth is actually cast as the witch. So this character in the tower is the witch. It is not Rapunzel. I'm not actually sure what episode we're going to meet Rapunzel in, but this witch is pretty interesting. She's obviously been up in that tower for a while, so is she a certain witch or just the witch? This mystery woman, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Hopefully though, we'll learn more about her in the next episode, so let's check out that promo.
It's All Hallows Eve, and Alice is on the loose.
Oh my god.
But she needs to be locked up.
Determined to destroy a timeless romance.
All I want is a life with you, Rumple.
Using one sinister secret.
Why are you doing this?
Because you told me to. Rumpelstiltskin.
Alright, so seems like we get more of Alice, and she is totally a little bit mad, and I'm excited to see that. She also seems to know more than most of our other characters, like with that confrontation with Weaver. Does he not know he's Rumpelstiltskin? Because she calls him Rumple, and he kind of looks a little confused. The episode will also let us know what happened with Belle and Rumple. And I actually interviewed Emily earlier this week, but I have awful luck, and my microphone crapped out during the interview, and there was just way too much interference and static in the video to upload it. But I could still make out the audio, and I remember what she told me. She told me that she thinks that this next episode is her favorite episode they've ever written the whole time she's been on the show, and it's really beautiful and kind of ties up things nicely. So that makes me excited to see it, but one thing I hope is that they don't kill Belle. Please don't kill anybody. Alright, so when it comes to this episode, I gotta say I was happy that we got to see more of Tiana and Regina, or Ronnie as you call her, whichever realm we're going with. And also, this was one of my favorite lines.
Well, look who's the leader of the people.
Yes, I'm a regular queen.
Now it's your turn to weigh in on the episode with your favorite and least favorite moments. Is Rapunzel Wish Hook's daughter? How do you think Anastasia died, and what did Cinderella have to do with it? Let me know, and then you can check out my interview with Catherine Langford from 13 Reasons Why, or Alexandra Shipp from X-Men and Tragedy Girls. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.